Good morning. Good morning, my beautiful friends. This is your wake up call with Maui Paul. I am Maui Paul. We are here today to say some nice things about ourselves. And we're going to be doing it with my I am cards. And I'm really excited to go through even more of my printed out deck, some of the original cards that I had. I'm going to be playing around with those today. Thank you guys so much for being here. Quite the crowd here this morning and fairly active. The question of the day: what cool thing happened this weekend? And boy, I sure do have a lot of folks who responded to that. So let's see who is here. I want to say good morning to you, Janet. Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Brenda Jean. Good morning, Maya. Jan says, it was cool to reconnect with an old friend recently. The energy and the perfect timing, as always. Fun to watch my life unfold before my eyes, satisfied and more. Well, Jan, that's wonderful. Reconnecting with old friends is a beautiful thing to do, and I'm very happy that that is happening to you. Good morning, Lauren. And Dan says, found many of Stacy's family treasures this weekend. Well, that's wonderful, Dan. It's always like a bittersweet thing when we're going through people's, through people's stuff after they pass. It's like, they have in many cases secreted many treasures away, but the ultimate treasure is the one that, is the one that was their life and all that they gave to us. And at the same time, it's fun to be like, oh, wow, look at this really cool thing that has been secreted away for probably many years. Jean says she got to take a cold plunge for the first time since hip surgery. Yay! That is so cool, Brenda Jean. I'm very happy for you. Big thanks to all my handlers, including Mike, Bob, and Teresa. Thank you to Mike, Bob, and Teresa. I know that they have been doing an excellent job of just helping you get where you're going and working with you as you recover from that pretty major surgery. But I'm super stoked, Brenda Jean, about that cold plunge. I know how valuable that is for you. I know how good it is for your mental clarity, for your state, and also how it is. It's a harbinger of what is to come, which is to be able to just continue on your wellness journey, except this time without that chronic pain that was forcing you into that tub every single morning. Now you can do it and get even more benefit out of it. I am stoked for you. Let's see. Good morning, Lauren. Lauren said that she went to a big Christmas parade at Riverfront Park. And it looks like Shauna has joined us as well. Good morning to you, Shauna. All right, so we are going to be working through one of my physical I am cards today, which I'm pretty excited about. As many of you guys know, I have a physical I am card deck. And so I actually have physical manifestations, physical reminders in my world. And so between now and the end of the year, I'm actually going to go through all of my physical cards. I started about 2 weeks ago, and so I have plenty of of them to go through. So let's do this the old school way that I did it at the first, which was that I'm going to pull a card off the top of the deck, and I'm going to ask you if you are the affirmation on that card, and we are going to say together out loud, I am that affirmation. And so as we do that, we are bringing this into our lives, and we are really taking control over the words that go through our heads. So let's have some fun today by pulling the card and saying that today I am expansive. I am expansive. I grow into new versions of myself daily. So I am expansive. I grow into new versions of myself daily. Are you expansive? You are expansive. You grow into new versions of yourself daily as well. So I'm going to write that down in the chat that I am expansive. I grow into new versions of myself daily. All right. And I know that I do, and I know that you do as well. I'm going to take that card, put it right up here in front of my face so I can see it all day long. But I tend to hang around with people who are on a growth trajectory. I was speaking with a friend. I was speaking with a friend yesterday, and we were basically just talking about how there are some people in this world that are growing and other people who are not, and how we like to hang out with people who are growing, with people who are just consistently evolving, consistently changing for the better, consistently consistently looking at their lives and saying, hey, what's working, what's not working, and really leaning into what's working. And so I am expansive. I grow into new versions of myself daily, and the people around me are the same. And that's why they're the people around me, because I love hanging out with people who are growing, people who are maturing, people who are dedicated to being better today than they were yesterday. Because ultimately that's what one of the most important things we can do in life is just to be the best version of ourselves, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us. We are expansive, and we grow into new versions of ourselves daily. And as we grow into these new versions of ourselves daily, we develop even greater empathy for the people around us. We develop even greater regard, and we care about them even more. As we care about ourselves even more, as we love ourselves and learn how to love ourselves. There's a really old saying about loving your enemies, and if we're supposed to love our enemies, well, who's our greatest enemy? If not ourself, if not our own internal monologue, if not the ways that we stop ourselves from doing what we'd really like to do, who do we treat as more of an enemy than us? So as we learn how to grow into our new versions of ourselves, we learn how to love ourselves, and we also learn how to love the one that stands in our way most of all. That's us. So I am expansive today. You are expansive too. We are expanding. And as we expand, we also get to kind of bounce off each other, which is a lot of fun. My expanded version of myself, the best version of me that's ever existed, gets to live gets to live with the best version of you that's ever existed, which is super cool. Regine, would like to hear a story about a time when I had a bunch of self-examination, and let me tell you, I have one queued right up, Regine. So there have been a lot of times in my life where I feel like I just hit a complete growth spurt, where things were going much the same for a very long period of time, and then all of a sudden I hit a growth spurt. And one of these times happened. Well, I guess I'll talk a little bit about the history of, I ended up in Costa Rica after, I had a career that I really didn't enjoy all that much. And I really didn't like myself all that much. And so I said, I'm going to run away from life and go live on top of a mountain in Costa Rica, which is what I did. And, but I remember that I was on top of that mountain in Costa Rica, and I was basically just hanging around with a bunch of other people who had come up there to have a good time. And we were having a party and we were enjoying ourselves, and everybody there was just kind of being themselves. And I looked around, and much like the current community that I live in, I looked around and I said, wow, everybody here is completely different, and yet we're all getting along. And I thought about it and I thought, well, they're all completely different. They're all just kind of being themselves. They're not trying to put on any kind of a pretense for me. And I took a look at myself and I said, but I am putting on a pretense. I'm trying to pretend to be somebody I'm not in order to fit in with these people who are all literally completely different than each other. Why am I doing that? And when I really examined myself, I was like, wait, I could just be myself and can be just as loved, just as accepted, just as cared about. And on that day, that was the day that I really just pulled the stick out of my own ass, and I stopped trying to keep up appearances, and I started just being myself. And as I started, because I had been trained for so long that that I had to please the people around me, that I had to be like a people pleaser. I had to make sure that the people that I was in agreement with everybody around me, no matter who they were. And that had not been serving me at all, because it had surrounded me with people that really they cared about me for who they thought I was. They didn't care about me for who I really was. And when I started to be more authentic and really just realize that I could be myself and still be loved, what happened was that the people who loved who I was being for them fell away, but the people who loved me for who I was stayed, and I got to just have a much better friend experience, which has set me up for even better friend experiences in the future. The version of me that was trying to keep up appearances, that version of me never would have made it at the community that I currently live in. The version of me that was dedicated to just being myself and to really leaning into who I am and not trying to pretend to be different for every single person I meet, which gets freaking exhausting. That version of me, this version of me that is just radically authentic, that was the version that was able to really grow into life and expand into life. And that's exactly what happened. That was a tremendous growth spurt for me. So all that really happened was a change of perspective. I looked around at the people around me and I said, how is it that all these people who completely disagree on so many things are getting along? And I recognized that it was because they had love in their hearts for each other, and that they had love in their hearts for themselves. That they weren't trying to they weren't trying to be or do or have something in order to please others, but rather they were just living life in such a way as was congruent with their own values. And that's something that I adopted. And to me, I mean, it literally felt like I was just pulling a stick out of my own ass. I felt like I was so rigid, and then after I had that mindset shift, I was able to become so much more flexible and say, if I can love these people for who they are and not really care about the ways that we disagree, then there are other people in the world who can do exactly that same thing for me. And is that is the story about how I learned how to be a bit more expansive and grow into a new version of myself daily. So I want to say thank you guys so much for being here. This has been a wonderful wake up call. Let's take a look and see what y'all have to say about your days. So Lauren says that she went to a big Christmas parade on Riverfront Park. Also, good morning, Lauren. Good to see you here. And let's see here. Oh, thank you, Janet. Janet loves the physical cards. They are so great. Brenda Jean says she likes to. She says that she owns her own crazy and wears it on her sleeve. And hey, when we wear our crazy on our sleeve, then the people who can't put up with our crazy, they don't even show up in our world, and then we don't even have to deal with them. The saying goes that the people who matter don't mind, and the people who mind don't matter. So let's make sure that we surround ourselves with the people that matter, not the people who mind. Let's see what else we have here. A lot of other folks have showed up. So good morning, Jamie. It is good to see you. And let's see here. Yeah, Brenda Jean says the unexamined life is not worth living. That's a quote from an ancient philosopher. I actually have a book on my bookshelf called The Examined Life, which is really all about, well, the examined life. It's all about intentionally looking at all the different aspects of how we are choosing to be, so that we can lean into the ones that work well, and that we can discard the ones that don't. Just let them set by the wayside. Janet says every time that she goes away for a while, she comes back a stronger, newer version of herself. It's so exciting. It's true. When we travel, the only thing that changes is us, Jan. When I traveled, I realized that the people around me didn't change. It was me that changed. My circumstances changed for a little while, but really, the thing that I took back was not my circumstances, but my state of being. Circumstances don't matter; only state of being matters. And so I was able to change my state of being through the process of totally changing my surroundings. And yeah, so I find also that every time I go and have an adventure is the same exact kind of a thing. I have an adventure. There's some mindset shifts that happen inside of me, and then I bring that new and expanded version of myself into everything else I do. All right, I want to say thank you guys so much for being here with me today, for going through the yet another wake up call. I will be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. with some more, and we will go through yet another one of my physical cards on the way that as we count down the days to the new year. Super excited for all the stuff coming in the new year. I'm sure you guys are as well. And thank you so much for being here. Thanks for sharing the broadcast and for helping to expand this message. You guys are amazing. I just want to remind you that I love you, that I care about you, and that I believe that I am surrounded by expansive people. So let's go out today and let's find reasons to expand into new versions of ourselves. Until then, I love you, appreciate you. See you later. Hello.